But anyway, we're going to go to a break. We'll be back in about 2 minutes, and then we'll have Dave Emmons on the show talking about his abduction. So stay tuned. You're listening to, naturally, Night Dreams Talk Radio After Dark.
Selfish and cruel since his youthful days in school. His siblings he never did treat well. His self-centered bent was his dark side lament, with a focus on hypnotizing spell. He memorized laws to help sharpen his claws for a future for which he was bent. The time would surely come when for office he would run and claim he was just heaven sent.
Another politician has just taken center stage. He tells all the people that he loves them so. He comes on like a sage, says with him they should engage. A false prophet selling endless empty prose.
If you would like to hear Night Dreams Talk Radio on your local radio station, let them know. Tell them to check out www.nightdreamstalkradio.com, and thank you.
You can advertise your business on Night Dreams Talk Radio, and you will be heard worldwide. Why not contact us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com. You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio After Dark with our host, Gary Anderson.
And that is me. We also got James, and we're waiting here in about 2 minutes. We'll have Dave Emmons on, and I just can't wait to get into his abduction stories. I think it's going to be rather interesting here tonight. Don't you, James?
Oh, every time. I tell you, he's got a couple there. I'm not going to give them away, but, seeing a couple persons in different places and stuff, that it's mind-blowing. Mind-blowing.
Yeah, and if I remember right, his abduction started at early age, too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they were like young teens, maybe, something like that, maybe even younger.
Well, we'll find that out. But, that's the whole thing about a lot of these cases with abductions. They start out when the person is a child, and it just continues on, and sometimes it even affects other family members. So who all knows who's being abducted? What's really bad if you got a household of, like, say, 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 individuals, right? And one is being abducted. They're probably scared to go, hey, Mom, Dad, I'm being abducted by, aliens and stuff like that. They're probably scared to sit there and tell their parents that they're being abducted. But on the other hand, is another member or two of the family could be going through the same thing. So you could imagine it could be 2 or 3 people in a household being abducted and scared to talk about it.
Right, and the parents aren't going to say nothing because they don't want to scare the child if they're getting abducted. And then on top of that, I think that for every person that's getting abducted, that they remember. I think it's like an iceberg effect. I think there's more they're getting abducted. They don't even know they've been abducted. And then there's the people that don't even report it, and then there's the people that's been abducted don't even know at all they've been abducted. So that's a lot of people.
Oh, it is. And I think we have Dave Emmons on the line right now. Hi, Dave.
Hi, Gary. This is Dave. Yeah, glad to be here.
Well, how you been?
Well, okay. As you get older, you always find these little tweaks that you have to do with your body. Kind of like you get it right, and then you keep going. And you know how that is, buddy.
Oh yeah, I'm still going, and it's been a long haul, but you know what? You just can't give up. I don't know how old you are, but I'm going on 68. I'm getting old as a wagon wheel.
I'm older than you. I'm 70.
Oh wow! And I saw pictures of you and your wife and your daughter at the beach and having a lot of fun. So it's funny. I've known people in the past when they get as soon as they retire, they're like 80 years old, or they act 80 years old. They kind of I remember my grandfather. He retired at 63 years old. He was very active. The next thing I know, he's all just sitting in his recliner reading about World War II, 24/7. He didn't live but a couple years because you know what? He had no activity, no physical activity. He built gas stations for like 40 years of his life. So he was very active. To then go from being very active to being non-active, that'll kill you.
Right. I've been trying to start over in music again, looking for some guys to play with, and as you get older, it's harder to get a fit group of guys. But yeah, I covered 25 states in the past 2 months, so I've been traveling quite a bit, and I keep on top of I try to keep the mind going, and what you do with the mind is keep it open and let some new things in.
Oh yeah, you know what happens is like somebody gave me a compliment one day. We were talking. They go, well, because they didn't see me, so they didn't know what I looked like at that point. They go, Gary, I thought you were like in your 50s because you don't, look like you're your age, and you don't sound like somebody your age. You're very, fast on responses. You're this. Hey, it all has to do with, your mind. If you let your mind go, you're going to slow down. It's just a fact.
Well, I see that in your pictures too. You don't have that many wrinkles, and also you talk very well on radio. I've told you that before.
Well, thank you.
That's I can see that.
Well,
I think my older brother told me, said the ETs are making me younger and smarter.
Well, it's a possibility. I do wonder, how many people have been abducted. And, there's two stories to people being abducted. There's the ones where the people feel like they've come out and, maybe had diabetes and then no longer has it. Their life is improved. Then there's another group of people that are constantly, and I know a couple of them, are going through mental anguish because they're scared to go to bed at night because they're worried about being abducted again.
Yes. I'm not afraid of going to bed at night. I would like to have more contact. I'd like for them to come back and explain to me more why all these things happened to me, and especially the years between 2009 and, I guess, 2013. But actually, the paranormal events kept going even after 2013, and up to this time, I sometimes see a lot of synchronicities, and my wife even sees it. I mean, she's become a believer being with me for 7 years, so she's one of these academic people, and a lot of times they're closed-minded, but since she's been with me, she believes in a lot of stuff. She'll hear something or feel something in a room, and she'll wake me up. She'll say, your friends are back, so yeah, so she's been made a believer.
Now, I want to go back and regress you a little bit over the radio. When was your first abduction? How old were you?
I was 14 at the time. It was 1963.
Okay, so you were 14 years old. Were you sharing a room, or did you have your own private bedroom? No,
I didn't. I slept. We were a family of 11 kids, and we were raised, very, it was poor, but we had fun. We got by. And the stories of families, I just caught the tail end of your conversation with the other gentleman. And my mom has been coming out the past few years. She's 92 now. And she's been coming out the last few years telling me stories that she's had or events that she's had, seeing tall, dark guys coming down her hallway, and they'd be touching her and doing things. And she wouldn't tell me everything, but she said that she's had these things throughout her life. So, and my family, several of them have seen UFOs up close, and I don't know if, like you guys are talking, 50% of people don't realize they've been abducted, and they're just completely they don't know what happened. They wake up tired, or they wake up said something happened to me, and then they just go about their business during the day. So, yeah, they don't realize it a lot of times, and none of my family have really, talked about being abducted. And my older brother always told me that he's afraid every time I travel I'm not going to come back because they're going to get me. So he's been made a believer too. A lot of my family, and even my mom, she asked me. She like I said, she's 92, and she asked me last week. She said, "Dave, you still do radio?" I said, "Yeah." I had to take a break for 2 or 3 weeks because I traveled a lot and had the stepdaughter here, so we did a lot of traveling. So I took a break for 2 or 3 weeks, and because she wants me to keep doing it, and I guess it's because she feels like she wants me to get the truth out because she's experienced several things herself.
Oh, wow. Now, going back, you were 14 years old. What was your first abduction? What was it like? What were you doing, and what did it feel like, and what happened? Can you just explain to the best you can remember for the listeners?
Yes, I remember it quite well. As a matter of fact, I bring up things to my brothers, and they can't remember, and I remember back 40, 50 years, small details. And what happened that night, it was a warm night. My best friend, best buddy, and we're still best friends to this day, and we still talk about that night some 56 years ago or whatever, but we still talk about it. We were sitting on his steps. He lived in a basement apartment with his dad and his uncle. And so we were sipping Pepsi-Cola, and we were listening to 10 transistor radio. That was the in thing for kids to do back then. We didn't have computers. And I smelled some sulfur smell. I said, "What is that smell?" And at 14, I didn't really realize what it was. And I didn't really finally come to a conclusion what it was until some years later, until I heard that was ozone. What happens is when a ship comes in through our atmosphere and the bottom of it gets really hot coming in, just like these shuttles or anything else that come in, if you'd be around those shuttles, you'd smell that same ozone, that sulfur smell. That's the burning of carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, oxygen, and nitrogen. When they all get really hot, then it creates another sulfur-type smell, and that's ozone smell. So we saw some lights, a couple of small, bright white lights coming through our neighborhood. We had trees that kind of divided the two parts of the streets. And so we saw this coming through the trees, so we went up to the road, walked up steps, and my buddy grabs a flashlight. And so he blinks at this thing with his flashlight, and he got it out of his dad's truck. And we walked down the road. It must only been about 2-3 houses that we walked, and we walked up into this empty lot that was right behind my house in my backyard. And here, this thing was just sitting there about 70 feet up, and it was about 30 feet in diameter, and probably about 15 feet tall. And it looked like a little short, fat top that you used to play with years ago when you take the handle and crank it. It looked like that. It had three levels on it. The bottom was really dark. I guess that was from the coming through the atmosphere. And the second level had windows in it. And I remember kind of nudging my buddy. I said, "I hope they don't look out. I don't want to see what they look like." And he says, "Are you seeing what I'm seeing?" I said, "Yes, I am. I don't know what it is, but it's one of those flying saucers." We said to ourselves or to each other. And we kept looking and staring at it. And I noticed on top it had a couple of antenna that was sticking out the top, and then there was a red light near the top of it, and couldn't figure out what that was. Actually, my buddy and I, said he heard a hissing sound, but I didn't hear a hissing sound. So sometimes you'll be looking at the same thing, two different people, and they may pick up on something else. Like I might have been staring at the windows in fear, and my buddy might have heard the hissing sound or something, but I didn't really hear it. That wasn't something that I recorded in my mind. But as we were standing there, we were just wondering what's going to happen next. We felt like we were kind of stunned in a way. We were standing in one place. I remember that we didn't move. We didn't step side by side or run or anything. We were just there. It was. I don't know if we were stunned or electromagnetically dumbed down, I think that's what we were, because I have a strong feeling that we